everyone. I hope you enjoyed your coffee break, and I hope you had a good time in networking and meeting new people. Welcome to the next session. I'm Arzak. I'm the MC for this room. Now we're welcoming Shalvi Mahajan, who will be delivering the talk of gender bias in machine learning. Shalvi is an AI scientist at SAP SE, Germany. She is located in Munich. She is really passionate about exploring machine learning and artificial intelligence techniques to solve real-world problems. She looks forward to solving mathematics and business challenges. In the past, she also has worked as a software engineer and really enjoys coding like a developer. Through her professional career and her journey, she always looks forward to explore ways to deliver her knowledge to bigger audience in talks and conferences, which is why she's here. Apart from work, she loves to travel and is either on a trip or planning to go one. Well done. Can we give her a clap and welcome her?
So, hello everyone. How's the mood today? Tired? No? Okay. So I'm glad you all are here. I'm Shalvi Mahajan. As the moderator has already announced, I'm a senior data scientist at SAP SE, located in Munich, Germany. Because of my love for travel, I'm here in London. That's one reason, and of course, the talk. So today, one of my favorite topics I talk about in my talks is about gender bias in machine learning. Even though it's not something I'm working on at SAP, but this is very close to my heart. I think I don't need to explain the topic. Gender bias, you all know. Machine learning, you all know. We'll see how we mix that together, how we solve the problems we have in our society today. Not exactly society, machine learning. No, I cannot do a lot about society. But of course, we can work this out so that our future improves, right? Based on the machine learning. So today, the agenda would be, I'll give you some context about this talk. Source, how the gender bias is there in AI, impact of bias, overcoming the bias, and reshaping the future. So the context. So AI in general should be neutral, right? It should have no bias at all. But because the society we live in, it does not only have gender bias, it has racial bias. I don't know, so many biases we have because of the stereotypes we have in the society. So that's the true picture. So the model we train and create is definitely the reflection of what we have in the society. So, for example, you might have seen in Google Translate or in other translates you do, with doctor, there is always a he. With nurse, there's always a she. So that's like clear example. Even in some of the languages, there is the pronoun that you use for doctor has a male one, and for the female, for the nurse, it's the female one. So that's already clear, like the backgrounds we all have. There is different credit card limits per gender, even with the same credit history. While applying for the jobs, there are so many things that women gets filtered out because, I don't know, maybe they're not fit for some reason, I don't know. So when I'm talking about gender bias, it's definitely not just women. So women is already a second-class citizen. You think about all the other genders we have, so the gender neutral thing, non-binary, things like that, right? So where do everyone falls then if women is also already in the second-class position? And how does this bias come from? So many AI systems, they use ML algorithm that take a lot of data, right? So you need the input to get the output, to make the predictions. So for, in general, I'm sure you all know what ML is. It basically takes some inputs, finds the patterns, tries to predict some output, right? So it definitely depends a lot on your input. So if your input is biased, it will definitely have an impact on the outcome that we provide, the predictions that we make. Now, the thing is, OK, the data is biased, the data is heavily biased. But also the professionals working in data science, in AI, the people who are maybe labeling, collecting the data, making the decisions, are only 22% of the professionals are women. So there's already a lot of biasing there. So in general, in machine learning, you need to, so humans are the ones who are collecting the data, generating the data, labeling the data. Then that data goes into the machine learning algorithm and make the predictions. So, you know, you need to fix that from the very beginning to get the output correct. And where does this whole bias is coming from? It's also so I already talked about the data points. Now in some of the low and middle income countries, there are 20% less likely that a woman owns even a smartphone. So the data being collected already is mostly for the men. So there is already a lot of skewed data that we have, and women data we don't have, the other genders we don't have the data at all. So there are very few examples on which our model is being trained on and predicting things. So it definitely paints an inaccurate picture, concealing important differences between people of different gender identities, and also hides potential overrepresentation or underrepresentation. I also talked already about labeling of data, because you need the labeling of data sometimes to also predict the targets. And for that, if the humans that are doing that are already having a biased nature, they will be subjective to giving us harmful biases and perspective while labeling, and thus the model will predict whatever has been labeled. So model will only do whatever you train it for, right? So it will give based on that. Then also, so this one I really felt, because so we are also once in my university days, I was doing some facial recognition stuff, and I realized that darker skinned women were misclassified at an error rate of 35% compared to the error rate of 0.8% for lighter skinned men, because there is no data set or very little data set for darker skinned women. They are mostly misclassified. Also I have heard a lot of times about this cancer research projects where they are detecting melanoma. If they don't have a lot of data set for the darker skinned women, sometimes they are unable to detect cancer, which is risky, right? It has health issues as well. So yeah, I mean, you cannot trust AI if you don't feed it with good data set, you cannot trust it for the real things. But now with ChatGPT hype, the AI revolution coming up, I'm very certain that AI is going to be the new future, so we need to take our steps today. Then you have the data set as the input, but you train it with a lot of features also. So some features or feature engineering, you do it by your own. So if your base data set has that biasing, somehow we need to make sure the engineered features take care of those biases. That is one way. But then also, so there is also one example here. So for the text-to-speech technology, automatic speech recognition, speech-to-text, it performs very poorly for female speakers than male speakers. Again, the data is less. Yeah, you get the same output. Yeah. So the impact of the bias is very clear. So yeah, today, we say AI is very rarely used, but having a ChatGPT in everybody's hand, I wouldn't say so anymore. So this is also contributing to the stereotypes that we already have. In fact, we are encouraging it. It is contributing to the setbacks in gender equality, women's empowerment. So, I mean, yeah, we definitely need to make the steps today. So there is also one example in the analysis of around 133 biased systems across industries from 1988 to present day. We found that 44.2% demonstrate gender bias, with 25.7% exhibiting both gender and racial bias. So there are a lot of impacts happening. So the lower quality of service, unfair allocation of resources, reinforcement of harmful stereotypes, offensive treatment, health effects, and mental effects. So we'll take them one by one. So for the lower quality of service for women, so out of the 59 systems exhibiting gender bias, 70% resulted in lower quality of service for women and non-binary individuals, for example, in the healthcare industry or voice recognition, even while finding the jobs, like I said. So I've seen many times reading this in the articles that women are automatically filtered out by many positions. I don't know, maybe women or other gender, maybe they figure out that in later stage they might have some issues with the leaves or things like that, maternity leave and stuff like that. Yeah, so this is, very weird. But our systems already are trained on it. So so in job application, I don't know if you know about it, in some of the companies, they also use some AI systems to filter out the candidates in the beginning with the resumes that you provide. So based on that, it's the fault of the AI, then the human comes in the loop, so it's already late. So you can see where yeah, it's coming from. And there is unfair allocation of resources, opportunities for women, so this I already talked about. So we are actually encouraging the existing harmful stereotypes and prejudices in the systems which we are going to follow in the future. So for example, the translation software, I already talked about this doctor, nurse example. This is still there, even if you, I don't know, maybe Google Translate already changed it. I checked it a few times, a few months ago, they were still there. So, yeah. Then we find that AI systems result in offensive treatment, of course. So, for example, using gender bias in gender classification builds an inaccurate, simplistic view of gender in tools such as facial analysis system. We also talked about that. Then this is also a concern for example, for skin cancer detection, the melanoma for black people, where they are not clearly identified on the first step. If you use AI to detect whether there is a concern or not, there are a lot of apps for that also. Some doctors prefer that. So that's basically using machine learning in the back end. And this is a concern. Like it's also contributing. It's a health problem then. And looking at all these impacts, you can see how much mentally it is affecting other genders. So this is definitely a concern. We are already at overcoming the bias. So how do we overcome the bias within the data, basically, and the machine learning algorithms? So we need to ensure that the diversity is there in the training examples. We should have roughly a similar amount of female, other genders, and male data sets in the data sets that we are using. So we need to ensure. So there are also methods. OK, the society doesn't have maybe a lot of. So it's the data scientists or data engineers' responsibility to collect such data. If there is not, there is also some ways of upsampling the data, so you can create more examples for a particular class and things like that. But it would be synthetic, so it won't be the real data. So preferably, it would be better if we collect the data sets from the real world while doing our serious stuff like skin cancer detection. But if you don't have it, there is also a way to generate the synthetic data by upsampling your data sets. Ensuring that the humans who are labeling the samples come from diverse backgrounds. Also ensuring machine learning teams to measure accuracy levels separately for different categories. Yes, so after you have the model and everything, you need to measure its accuracy. So you don't compute the accuracy. If you have such a sensitive data, don't compute the accuracy based or your other metrics, performance metrics, don't compute them just on the whole data set, but compute it on different categories you have, like male, female, other things. This is just one example, but in general, if you have a data set that has sensitive data, try that it explains all the categories rather than just being biased. Now let's say you have 90% of male data set and only 10% is the female one. Our model is gonna prove in the output that we have, it's gonna tend towards the male one, always, right? So you need to make sure that you have accuracy or all the performance metrics, not just accuracy. So all the performance metrics per category. And also there is a way that you can also solve for this unfairness. If it exists, let's say when you computed accuracy, it still exists, you don't have enough data. You can also build the machine learning algorithm in such a way that you penalize if you get such outputs. So you need to, if you guys might know reinforcement learning, so there's a way, like if you want, you can also penalize your machine learning algorithm, give it a negative score or something so that it learns the next time. It's kind of a feedback. So I guess I've covered most of it, but we can also go by that. So for the machine learning developers, we need to embed and advance gender diversity, equity, inclusion among the teams, developing the AI systems. We need to recognize that data and algorithms are not neutral and do something about it. Central voices of marginalized community members, including women and non-binary individuals, in the development of AI systems, establish gender-sensitive governance approach. So for responsible AI, I don't know if you've heard about this. So responsible AI makes sure that when developing the algorithms, all the ethics and everything is ensured in your machine learning model when it goes to the production and when it goes to the normal people to work on. So in that case, responsible AI is one good example, but we need to establish such gender-sensitive rules there. Social aspect is definitely there, so the whole problem is, all right, okay, we can do everything about the machine learning, we can do a lot about the systems that we have, but the background is our society. We already have such a mindset of people that is fully embedded, that even many people I talk to also has imposter syndrome due to that in the day-to-day work that they perform. I mean, yeah, we are in 21st century. That's not the way to go. But like I said, I cannot do a lot about social aspect, but it still exists. I think awareness is much more important. I know I can't do much about it, but if you are aware, maybe people will start thinking about it, and the ones who can do a lot. Lend your expertise to the field of gender equitable AI. In considering AI systems, we can tackle the gender gaps. Okay, this we already talked about. Yes. So reshaping the future. I mean, I think in my talk it's very clear. We need to take our steps so that we can think about how this gender inequality, the society in general can change. But okay, in machine learning systems, the methods I talked about, having the diversity in the data set, penalizing the algorithm if the predictions aren't right, then if you compute the performance metric, compute it per category, have humans do the labeling, but have them from different diverse backgrounds. Yes, and like I said, although examining these causes and solution is an important first step, there are still many open questions to be answered. Yeah, I mean, that was it that I wanted to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent talk. You know, the whole concept of machine learning or this new generative AI, the LLM kind of thing, you know, it does not know, you know, that table is not related to sky. So when we're speaking about trying to build a system for the future using AI, ML stuff, it needs to be racist, classist, sexist, because our lived reality is.
Of course.
So if it wouldn't, it would almost have to be inaccurate and have to propose things that are table sky. So do you think it's actually possible to eliminate bias in machine learning before we eliminate bias in actual society?
It's very hard. It's very hard. So when you talk about LLMs, you have vast amount of data, right? I don't know, it's been trained for years when you get the output. It's very hard to get the I would say, non-realistic results in this case. And it should, so I think if you see biasing in the system, you'll know that the biasing exists in the society. So I would say it's really very hard, but it's just the first steps that we can do. I just want to make clear or make people aware, because I've seen a lot of people even talking nonsense even today about gender bias and stuff, because it's embedded in the heads. How would someone get that out? Yeah, so first, basically, in the end, it's the society that we need to change, and then the machine learning algorithms would. But this is the first step.
I'm sorry, I just want to note we have time only for one more question. So
okay, yeah.
Would you like to?
Anyone is fine.
The lot of the data you presented, I didn't see the data sources behind that, because I think it would be important to look at the data sources.
Yeah.
The comment you mentioned about the credit scoring and
yes.
the less amount of credit given to the female and all of that. I think a lot of these things are driven by the data. So when the model goes into the production, I believe the regulators and the auditors, they look at the data, what
yeah.
has been underlined, all of that. And fundamentally, I mean, this is my belief, and I'm nothing against women or females here.
Course, it's fine.
But anatomy of the male brain and female brain is different. Female has a different perspective, male has a different perspective. Even if you look at the STEM or
yeah.
science background, you have more males. And the data is built over the period of last 100, 200 years, and the models are using that data.
Yeah.
So is it that data is driving this outcomes, or is it just because somebody is biased while building this model?
I think it's
What
both.
is the point you are trying to make here?
So,
I didn't understand.
Okay, so it's both. if you are in STEM, if people are, you yourself said, if people are more male than female, then the labeling of the data set in the end would somewhat be biased. And also the data set originally has more examples towards one class than rest others. So it's both, I think. I mean, Google Translate is a very, very good example in this case. Everyone is using that, right? Okay, we are well familiar with the society, but someone who's new to it will learn whatever is being shown there, right? Let's say you are learning a language. You'll use only those pronouns with the things that are being mentioned in the translate or whatever language translation software you're using. So that's what you are going to use in the future. Maybe let's say in Spain, it's the thing that's being used, but people in the country don't follow that anymore because the revolution is coming, this thing is coming. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's the data set, the people, everything is related to it. That's giving the output. I mean, the riskiest is, okay, language doesn't matter that much, but the riskiest is the skin cancer detection, right? If you don't have or related to health, wherever the companies or the hospitals are using the softwares that detect the cancer, for example, in the first with just taking a photo of the mole and you want the app first and then you consult the doctor, it's very risky if you get negative result while you had the melanoma. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Shalvi. Can you just give her a clap? Thank you. So, of course, if you have any further questions, I think she will be around outside. You can talk to her, just mindful of the other speaker. Thank you so much.